record. There we go. Can you guys still hear me? Okay, awesome. So let's get this here. Okay, so we know obviously that there are group trips that are coming up. In the past, I would put together 1 or 2 trips at a time. It was random times that we would open things. Oh, hello. Oh,
Just out there.
let me do this. I think I might not have set the settings right, so I'll pay attention when people jump on. I'll make sure they're muted. In the past, it was random. So I didn't have a good solid date to work towards. You guys didn't have a good solid date to look for trips available. So the idea is once a quarter to host a launch party. In the launch party, there will be 2 different types of trips. Ones that are fully ready to register, you know, all of the details, the pricing, the travel dates. And then ones that I consider early bird registrations. And those are going to be trips that we know we're doing, but there's still a lot of unknowns. So there are people who are interested in traveling with us to a certain destination. And if they have an estimated price point and estimated travel dates, they're going to make it work. They're not necessarily concerned about all of the details. Those people usually join early bird registrations. It also allows you to pay into a trip fund. So if you need more time than normal to pay on a trip, this could be an option for you. And it also helps you grab seats on a trip that tends to sell out. An example of that, of an early bird that we opened last month that's almost sold out, is the USS KIDD sleeping on the ship. So we've had 3 families register for that one. And if I'm not mistaken, that's 12 people, and we're looking for 20. It's fully launching today, but at this point, those 12 people have priority because they've registered as an early bird registrant, if that's a word. So we'll start. I'll go through all of these details, but that's the general idea of a launch party. We are playing catch up. So you're going to notice that I did one in February, one in March, and then I'll do one in April. And that will be the beginning of our quarterly launches. So April, July, and then later on in the year. So let's get started. Okay, so if you've been on a presentation, if you've been in the group, if you looked at my website, you know, at the end of the day, the idea of getting children, especially homeschool children, to experience the world is very important to me. We do backyard travels. We're going international. To me, it all counts. But that's a little bit about me. There are a few of you who may be in this presentation that is not a part of the main group. And the reason for this is I've started partnering with outside organizations, homeschool organizations, to grow their offering for their organization, as well as a way for them to earn money for their organization. So what I've done is shared the information with those organizations. And so some of their members may be on this presentation who are not in the main group. Okay, so for those of you who are not in the main group, this is where you can find us. Okay, the name of it is The Answer is Travel. Once I email this presentation, you should be able to click on it and it will pull you straight up to the Facebook group. Okay, so after 5 years of doing so many group trips, I have learned that it's important to put out there what it means to travel as a group. Most of us know that when you travel with your family, things usually are one way, but when you start adding other people and other personalities, there is a whole different dynamic. Okay, so obviously as homeschoolers, we're going to be unique. And as group travel, we're going to be unique. But with that, when you put them together, you tend to have a lot of personalities that are hard to work with sometimes. So what we've done is I've kind of written up a little paragraph here that says that we allow people to do their own thing. You are free to go and venture off on your own. That's part of the uniqueness of our group trips for only domestic trips. International, I will not let people go off on their own. But with that comes the responsibility of the travelers to meet up with the group, to be on time, and to respect the boundaries of the trip leader and the places that we're traveling. Okay. We don't share transportation for domestic trips. So that throws in another unique aspect to everything. So it's important to understand that, yes, there's flexibility. Yes, you can go off on your own, but there's still some boundaries that we have to stick to. Okay. And here are a few of the travel etiquette rules that I'd like to share with the group. Being polite and friendly is super important. The whole point of these trips is to make lifelong friends. People who travel with us often have made friends that will decide on which trips in the future they're going to travel with us on based on if their friends are coming. Okay, so we're getting more and more repeat travelers and more friends meeting up on the same trips, which is a beautiful thing. Being time conscious, making sure that others don't have to wait on you. It's no fun when you feel all of the attention on you for running late. Being flexible, knowing things are going to be out of our control. Things are going to happen. We do our best to plan for everything. Sometimes, unfortunately, we can't control everything. So being flexible is important. And then being in the moment. We usually don't have trouble with this, but realizing that this time is never going to be given back to you. So enjoying the time with your children and your family while learning and traveling is super important. And then complaining, we encourage you to keep the complaints to a minimum. Sorry, my little one's playing. More so to keep the positive energy and vibe of the trip than me not wanting to address the issues. So I always ask for feedback. I'll always ask for constructive criticism so the issues can be addressed at a later time. We want to keep everything positive. Right. See, more people have jumped on. Let me see if I can check the chats. Hey, Tammy, Katie. Chat. Okay, y'all, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to multitask. So let's close this and get this out of the way. Okay, so what do we offer? Everyone knows of our educational travel experiences that we've been doing for 5 years, but we're starting to roll out programs that are a little different that could benefit other homeschoolers, other homeschool organizations. Okay, we're only going to talk about the trips that are being launched today. I will mention the affiliates because they have a special process of registering for our trip. But the private group trips, I'm just mentioning it here, and that's going to be the end of it. Okay, you can reach out to me if you have an idea, but today is all about the main groups trips. Okay, so I did mention this in the beginning, but I will mention this again. I'm starting to partner with homeschool education programs, enrichment camps, co-ops to help them with offering more to their members. Okay, and with that, they can earn a small amount for their organization. So if you are a member of one of these organizations, when you do decide to register for the trip, you need to make sure that you do two things. You get the special booking link from your leader, and you know what your group code is. That's how we're going to track who's coming from what organization. Okay, this is the first time we do it. We launched this part of the program. So if there's some mix up where members from these groups actually book like our main group does, I will be watching for that. But moving forward, we would definitely want it to keep it separate. Okay. So these are the group booking codes. If you're part of one of these groups, you will get this email to you, but you can jot these down really quickly. Okay. Okay. So how does it work? I mentioned there's two different types of trips that we will launch every quarterly launch that we host. The first one is early birds, and then the other is what's fully launching. It's ready to go. Okay. So the idea is you would pay a small fee to reserve your spot on the early bird trips. And then once it's officially opened, you'll have 14 days to make your official decision. So if something changes or if your situation changes and you cannot travel on that trip, you will get any money that you put towards the trip fund back, less the reservation fee. So you would potentially be out $100 for two people. Okay. So this is going to be for trips that I've mentioned this, that we know some information, but not enough to fully launch it. There's a high price point, so people need time to pay on the trip. And for those trips that are popular, and when I say popular, they tend to fill up very quickly. So we do the early bird registrations to allow those who have been waiting to basically reserve their spot until things are finalized. Okay. Now, with the fully launching trips, because you registered for this presentation, you will be given a discount if you register within 5 days of this presentation. But with the early birds, we can't really offer a discount because things are not solid enough. But if you choose to contribute $100 towards the entire trip, not per person, but towards the entire trip per month, you will get a discount. Okay. So it depends on the price point, and it's listed here. If it's a trip that's less than $750, you will get $50 off per person, and there's no limit on that discount. So if you're looking for a trip that you know you're definitely going to want to be on, it has a high price point, you need more time to pay for it, and you don't want to miss a spot, I would definitely jump on this. Okay. The international trips, you'll get $150 off per person, no limit. This would be really good for, say, Vietnam and Cambodia, because it could save your family potentially $300 to $900 overall. Okay. So that's how the early bird works. We have 3 that are launching this go rounds that are early birds. The fully launching trips, you will get a discount if you register for the launch party. So going through the registration process on Zoom, and then actually registering for one of the trips that are fully launching within 5 days of the launch party. Okay. If you do, you will get so much off per person. There is a limit on that discount, but it is an incentive to grab those spots right now and to register for the launch party. This discount is not available to anyone who does not register for the launch party. Okay. So if someone says, hey, I see on your website, I want to do this trip, and I'm going to register on day 3, they would not be eligible for this discount because they didn't register for the launch party. Okay. So that's how fully launching trips work. We often get the same questions. I often get people reaching out to me saying, if you did it this way, you probably would get more people on the trip. And trust me, I've thought of every way that we can do things. And so presenting the FAQs is a way of basically answering those common questions. Okay. Dietary restrictions, requests, we get them often. What we do is ask that you just let us know in the registration box that asks for additional info. If there is something that you need to know before you register for the trip, email me and we can confirm with our vendors. If it's something like we have a sensitivity to dairy or we are vegetarian, those things we can handle with the vendor one-on-one. But if, say, you have a extremely a bad allergy to peanuts, we need to know that to make sure we can accommodate you. Okay. I've mentioned this. You do not have to participate in all activities or domestic trips. International, you're stuck with us. But there is no discount. Okay. So you can choose to wander off on your own, but you don't get a discount for not participating in whatever activity you choose not to. Okay. Required group hotels. I get this question often, and the reason is because I'm tied to a contract. If we don't meet the minimum number of rooms that I say we will, then I am financially responsible for that lost revenue. Okay. I usually just say we need 10 rooms because that's the minimum, but there have been times we hit less than 10 rooms. And so they're looking for me to fill that gap because they held those rooms for the entire period and didn't sell them. So that's why. Another reason is when everyone's together, it makes the process a little bit more seamless since we're all in our own vehicles. If you're coming from different hotels and different locations, it tends to make the trip feel a little bit more choppier. Okay. Can my child travel without a parent? No, absolutely not. Even if they're 17, if they don't have a chaperone with them, then they cannot travel with us. This is different than the traditional group student travel where we have 8 students traveling with 1 chaperone. Every child will have their own chaperone. Okay. Now, the parent, chaperone, guardian can bring 4 kids if they'd like to, but no parent or chaperone can send their child without someone with them. Okay. Do we provide transportation on the trip? Domestically, no, we don't. So getting to the destination, getting back home from the destination, and getting around while we are in destination is your responsibility. If it's an international trip, then you will be responsible to meet up with us in the country that we're starting off. And then everything else is included, including ground transportation, public transportation. So you will not have to worry about that part of it. You'll just have to worry about getting home after. Okay. So you're going to notice that there are supplements for 5th, 6th, and 7th persons traveling. And the reason for this is we are contracting with hotels that have rooms to fit 4 people. Okay. We have families who have traveled with us that have 7 people. When you hit that 5th person, you need to get that second room, which means the cost has increased at this point. My system, unfortunately, cannot calculate it correctly. So as an accountant, I built out a nice spreadsheet, figured out what the extra cost would be for those people to make sure that the package price is calculated correctly. Okay. On the booking page, I list out what the cost is for each number of for each size family. So you'll see up to 8 people in a family. It tells you the total that your trip is going to cost. So when you go through the booking process and you click the buttons, it should show you or calculate the same exact amount that is shown on the booking page. Okay. It can be a little confusing if it's your first time, but you can always reach out to me. All right, guys. So let me hold on. Pull up the chats. Okay, so does anyone have questions at this point? You can unmute yourself. This is just more of housekeeping. It's not really any specific details about trips. But if anyone has some questions, you can unmute yourself and ask them at this point. Okay, I think we do have more people. Katie, Jimmy, Michelle. Okay. So I'm going to assume, since no, I don't hear anyone, I don't see any messages in the chats, there are no questions at this point. So I'm going to jump right into the fun stuff. Let me close this. Let me move this. All right. Okay. So our launching trips this month, we have two. We have the All Things Christmas trip. It's a road trip through 3 states. It's going to be from December 7th through the 12th. Okay. It's based on, this price point is based on double occupancy. So with 2 people in a room, your per person price is $11.65. If you have 3 or 4 people, it will be less per person, which is why I break the cost down on the booking page. Okay. So it's a 5-night trip, 6-day trip. We'll spend 2 nights in Georgia, 2 nights in Tennessee, and a night in Alabama. I will likely add an extension to this trip to go to one other area of Alabama, but I'm still working on those details. Okay. So some of the highlights, we do demos in Helen, Georgia. It's a German-inspired village. If you can hear Finley, she loves Helen. She begs to go back often. But we start off in Helen. We will stay in a hotel, local hotel, and we'll do demos with the local shop owners. The caramel corn demo is so awesome, and they're actually a homeschooling family. We'll do a Victorian Christmas at a local farm, so you'll get to go. It's a small place, but it's really nice. They have banjos and they have s'mores and campfires before you go into the mansion, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Then after we spend the 2 nights in, well, before we leave Helen, we're going to go to Dahlonega, and that's going to be the transition between the Georgia portion and the Tennessee portion. So on that day, we're going to spend the whole day there. They do this beautiful Main Street, historical, old-fashioned Christmas. There's parades, there's activities, there's Santa, there's carriage rides. Carolers come out, they light this town square. Absolutely gorgeous. So we will do that again this year. Okay. The next part of the trip is when we go to Chattanooga. My family and I actually spent some time there after we did Helen last year, and it was magical, guys. Most of you are familiar with Chattanooga's top spots. So you'll have the incline rail or trail, you'll have the Ruby Falls, and then you'll have Lookout Mountain. Okay. The Enchanted Christmas is at Lookout Mountain. It's a special program that they run every year. You walk through the grounds. Everything is lit up. There's fairies. There's rock formations you walk through. It's truly, truly magical. This past year, we couldn't see out at Lookout Mountain because it was so foggy, but it was still magical. So we'll do that in Chattanooga. We'll also do the incline rail and Ruby Falls as a group, and we'll have a meal there as well. We do have a meal in Helen, but that's on the booking page, the meal stuff. So the Enchanted Christmas. And then we head over to Alabama. And this one is Christmas at the Falls. And it is, I believe it's a state park that has millions of lights. We'll walk through them. There's vendors, there's hot cocoa. Just, it's a very, definitely Christmas spirit. Okay. So we've put these 3 towns together to make the All Things Christmas road trip spectacular for all of us. All right. So this is a description. You'll see the same description on the booking page. but it basically tells you what to expect when you're in each area. Okay. And then our next one that's opening is
It's in even air.
oh, go ahead.
So you have to sit down in this one.
Wait. Oh, I think maybe somewhere. Okay, I think we're good now. If someone has a question, I'll answer it after. Say hi, sis. Yeah. Okay, so this trip is the first trip we've ever done. It's overnight on a battleship, which is the USS KIDD in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's going to be in January. It's actually now, instead of it being one night, it's 3 nights and 4 days. Okay. We've run this trip quite a few times and we've learned that I pack in so much stuff, we need more time. So part of this package is staying 2 nights in a hotel and 1 night on the battleship. Of course, there are other activities that we're doing, but the price point, the $710 per person, is based on 2 people sharing a hotel room. If you have a third or fourth person in the room, the per person price will go down. The booking page will have it broken down for you. So if you're a family of 3 or 4, you'll know what the price point is. The total cost, it will tell you the total cost. Okay. So, be careful, sis. Some of the highlights on this trip is obviously we're going to stay on the battleship. I actually believe my little one is going to come. It's the first time she is going to be able to do this trip. It is mentioned on the booking page, but it's important to point out you must be 6 or older to do this trip because of the ship. Okay, they have strict rule regulations. So unfortunately, if you have a 5-year-old, it wouldn't work. Okay, so we always do the state capitol. It's a working state capitol, so there's people there. Sometimes it's in session, so you get to see and be in, 1, the tallest U.S. Capitol building in the United States, but 2, an active working capitol, state capitol. Okay. You'll end that part of the trip at the observation deck, where you can see the Mississippi and you can see the grounds and the downtown area. Absolutely gorgeous. In the old state capitol is now a museum. It is no longer a working capitol, obviously, but the governor who had this capitol designed wanted it to feel like the White House. Okay. And so it was built with that in mind. There's many beautiful events that they host here. The first thing you'll notice when you walk in is a grand staircase. It's spectacular. But we'll do the tour here and learn a little bit more of the history of the state. Sister, what you doing? Hey, be careful. You're gonna hit your head. Sorry, y'all. We then we do the old governor's mansion. Again, you learn about the history of the area and the mansion itself. Absolutely gorgeous. There's a ballroom that makes you feel like you're a princess. At one of the first rooms that you walk into. So we do a tour there. We also throw in some art and science stuff. So the Art and Science Museum is a great experience for students. It's always requested that we have more time there because the students enjoy it so much and they felt rushed to go from one place to the next. So this time we're going to have a half a day at the Art and Science Museum. Okay. Ben, calm down for me, please. And then the Rural Life Museum, it's not in downtown Baton Rouge, but it's a stop that we always include because it's a great representation of rural life Louisiana, I believe in the 18th and 19th centuries, I think. I don't remember the time frame, but it is definitely historical. There's a lot of artifacts. It's really awesome to be there. It's probably the top pick for most travelers, which I was surprised to hear, but those who have gone have always had raving reviews. So we always include it. We do have other stops, but these are just some of the highlights for you. Again, this is just a description. Okay. So you can read over that. I don't need to read it for you guys. And then the early birds. This is what most people are probably looking forward to moving forward, because it gives you guys more time to pay on a trip, ensures you get a spot on the trip. Just remember that you do get a special discount if you contribute to the trip fund count. And all it takes is $50 per person to reserve your spot. Okay. And you get 14 days after it fully launches to make your official decision about whether you'll travel with us or not. Okay. So a few of you mentioned swimming with the gentle giants, the manatees. We just did this one. We're going to do it again. But with this one, we actually are, this time we're not going to do Universal. Okay. It was a very long trip. Universal was difficult to work with. And by the time the Universal part of the trip came along, people were exhausted. Okay. And it also stopped some people from being able to afford the trip because Universal tickets added to the cost of the trip. So I decided to just stick to the manatees and the local area of Crystal River so that more people can join us. So some of the things we're going to do is we're going to take pictures with mermaids. And Tammy, you might be in this picture. No, I don't see you. But this is some of the group members from last time. You can see here. No, you must be hiding. Or you weren't right there. But we actually have a photographer who will come in and take pictures with each individual student and parent if you want to. And then, of course, take group pictures. We'll have a biologist that's going to do a presentation so we can learn about mannerisms and the proper etiquette when being around the manatees. Of course, you're going to swim with the manatees. You're going to kayak with the manatees. You're going to do an eco boat tour. So you're going to get all kinds of history and science wrapped up into one. There are some museums that we will visit. There is a mangrove hike where you'll learn about the native plants and walk through the mangroves. So that's a really, really awesome experience for the students, besides, of course, the manatees. This trip, we get the entire trip catered. So all of meals are included in the cost per person. Let me check. I know some of you are like, what is the cost? I am going to look up the estimated cost for you guys. I don't know if you can see this, but I will tell you. Okay, so manatees, they're so cute. The estimated cost is $875 per person. Okay, and that would be 3 nights in a hotel, dinners, lunches, breakfast, the mermaids, all the programs, nature study, that sort of thing. And it's based on 2 people. So again, if you have 3 or 4 people, the price point will go down per person. So again, it's $875 per person. And you'll see this on the website. You can go to the website and check it out. Okay, let me get back to the presentation. So $875 for the manatee trip. And then we'll talk about the mighty Grand Canyon. So this one has been a request for probably 2 years now, and I had every intention of doing it earlier, but didn't have time. So one of our moms who leads trips for us has done the research, and I have put a package together to show you guys the mighty Grand Canyon. Basically, what we're going to do is spend 4 nights, 5 days in the Williams, Arizona area, and I forget the other town. We're going to split the hotel stay. We're going to actually do a train ride, which I put in the presentation chat. In the train ride through the canyon, we're going to be in the dome observation area. So we're going to be able to see everything from the dome of the train. And I wish so badly this would work. Let's see if I can. You won't hear it. Do you on your phone? Oh, can you hear it or see it? No, you can't. Okay. Okay. So you'll just have to go to the chat. I'll email it out. But the video clip is of the train ride, and you get to see the staff and the entertainment that they have that comes on the train ride. We will do a private tour of the South Rim of the Grand Canyon. It's by motor coach, so you don't have to worry about driving in that area. What are you doing? And let me pull up. Okay. And your meals are, most of the meals are going to be included. We're going to stay at the Grand Canyon Rail Hotel and then a lodge. That's the second part of the trip. This one is $19.75 per person based on double occupancy. Okay. And there'll be some other activities we throw in, but we know for sure these things are going to happen. The minimum age on this one is 7. I didn't mention this on 7 and older. I didn't mention this one for the Manatees, but I think I put this one at 7 as well, because last trip out we had some younger kids and it was tough on them. So 7 and older for the Manatees, 7 and older for the Grand Canyon. Okay. So that is the Grand Canyon. Now, the best of Vietnam and Cambodia obviously is a whole new area of the world for me. But I am probably the most excited because I've never been to Asia. I've always wanted to go to Asia. And this is the opportunity to go. So what we're going to do is, I'm not as familiar with this itinerary as the others because it's so new to me, but I'm going to pull up the booking page. It is going to be a 10-night, 11-day stay in December of 2024. We're going to start off in Vietnam and then eventually head to Cambodia. I'm going to butcher these names, but there is a lot of history with the war that we're going to learn about. Coochie tunnels, where the tunnels were very extensive. They used it, as safety mechanisms, and they used it to be able to go underneath the city. We'll actually get to explore that area. We'll do a cooking class, which I think is going to be interesting. We're going to go to a floating market. So if you ever see the little floating boats, bamboo boats with the markets that you can buy fresh produce on or flowers, we will actually get to go and experience that. We will do a biking tour through a small village. It's not an extensive bike portion of the trip, so most of us will be able to handle it. And then we're going to take a high-speed boat from Vietnam to Cambodia. Okay. Now, when we're in Cambodia, we're going to hit the top touristy spots. We're going to go into the villages and learn about the history. But I couldn't tell you more than that because this is some research that I have to do. Okay. The cost, based on double occupancy, is $33.95. $3,395. We will have a professional photographer with us that will take pictures of the individual families. So that's going to be really awesome to add to it. And it also includes the going from one country to the next. So you're not having to worry about going from Vietnam to Cambodia on your own. And we'll have English speaking guides. So if you're wanting to do Asia and you're concerned about the language barrier or just being completely unfamiliar, this would be your way of doing it. Okay. I will tell you, I think that this trip is going to fill up rather quickly. I've had a lot of interest in it. And so if you're considering it, I would, and you can make the $50 per person reservation, I would definitely do that one. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. Ooh, look how pretty. I don't even know what I'm looking at, but I just want to go. Okay, so anybody have questions at this point? If you do, go ahead and unmute yourself.
I do. It's Michelle.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
do you, when I look at your pictures, it seems like there's a lot of smaller children. I have two teenagers that want to go.
Mhm. Which
Are they
trip?
going to be, well, definitely they want to do the manatee swimming and they'll
Okay.
probably want, but are they going to be, is it going to be them and then a lot of families with smaller children?
So generally what we see is a mix of ages. You will have smaller children, you'll have older children too. What I've noticed is a lot of the older kids just don't want to be in the pictures, so they kind of hide off.
Okay.
But my son is definitely gonna be on that trip. So we usually have like the younger teenagers, maybe 14, 15-year-olds. Every now and then we'll get a 17-year-old. But by that point, they're kind of too cool to travel with family. So,
Right.
how old are your children?
By then they'll be 16 and 15.
Okay. I think we'll have some within the 14 to 15 age range. We definitely won't have the little kids like we did this year because we're opening the age minimum. But if you want to sign up for it, and then if you decide you don't want to go because of the average age of the registrants before the actual fully launching, you would get your money back. Once it fully launches though, then that's a solid commitment.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
And then Tammy, I knew hers is 13 and 14. We definitely have teenagers. It's just usually that middle part of the teenage years.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Now, I put this at the end. I'm going to just go ahead and continue this one last thing here. I do get this question often, and I'm fine with answering it, but I like to put this on my website, booking pages, here on the presentation, because I realize that this can be a very big investment for your families. Okay. It's scary when you've never met me in person, or you've met me once, but you don't know who I truly am. So this is just put out there for you to kind of do some research on your own. You can obviously look in the group, ask questions. There's a place on my website that has some feedback. But on a professional standpoint side, I've done some further training to earn my certified travel advisor certificate. It just means that I have some ethical training behind me, that I am familiar with products and destinations and whatnot. If you click on the link, it will bring you to the organization's website, and you can kind of go through that. And prior to this life, I was an accountant. So I worked for a CPA firm and I worked for a logistics company. So it kind of makes sense that I do travel now. But I was, in the professional world for some time and then said, this is not for me. But if you have other questions or concerns, you can reach out to me with those concerns or questions. But that is it. That's the end. All right, so I think we ended this with 8 people. 80 people showed up. 80 people registered. 80 something people registered. But they want the recording. Okay. All right. Okay, anyone have other questions that you'd like me to answer? Let's see, Brittany's on. Jimmy's on. If you guys, Jimmy or Brittany, want to unmute yourself and tell us where you're located, that would be wonderful. Maybe not. Oh. See some movements. Okay. No big deal. I just like to always love to know where everyone's coming from. I will end this here. I will stop the recording. It takes about 2 hours to get all of the recordings ready to go and email sent and live links ready. But if you are ready to register for any of those trips, whether early bird or fully launching, they are on the website. Most people use Travel Answers by Brandy, but if you type in the answer is travel, it will pull up. Okay, and you can get all of the details there and you can start making booking reservations. Okay. Oh, hi, Katie. She's from Branson. Awesome. Welcome. We've had people from Missouri actually travel with us on some trips. Okay. I'm going to end it here. I hope to see every one of you on a trip, multiple trips. If you ever speak to Tammy, she'll tell you it's addicting. But yep, I think that's it. I appreciate each of you's time and we'll chat soon. Ciao. Almost. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Jamie. Brittany. Oh, I didn't see this one. I'm sorry, Jimmy. I will reach out to you. Okay, let me stop this recording.